Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show, where we take a look at how you approach your work and personal life and how we can make the most out of both of them. A weekly get-together where we get real about self-improvement and development as we all make this not-so-easy journey through life. Our discussions will cover ideas and concepts from how to grow your career to how to lead your family towards prosperity and happiness. We don't pretend to know it all, and the doctor is the first to be vulnerable, discussing his own weaknesses, both past and present. This is about growing together and having some fun while we discuss what is happening in the crazy world we live in and how to make the most of it. Let's strive for awesome together. Let's get after it. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Dr. Leadership Show. Hope you're having an awesome day. Hey, big week for me. Going to be around, not traveling. Was on the road to the East Coast last week. Great time seeing people, seeing customers. And then I'm off to the European continent for a week. Can't wait to see customers and friends and people I interact with on the phone and the dreaded Teams meetings, right, from all over Europe and the Asian markets and South America, et cetera. So next week I'm going to figure out how to get these episodes done in between planes, trains, and automobiles, literally. But hope you're having an awesome week. Beautiful weather here in the Midwest. Hey, a reminder. So last week we talked about Charlie Munger's The Magic Number. Going to touch on that. We're going to keep spinning down the financial well-being path that we're on. But a reminder, Jane Frazier of Scharf Para PLLC joined me this weekend for a great conversation around taxes as an individual, and also if you've got a little bit of the side hustle going on in your life, right? Everybody's got a side hustle. She gives some great feedback on what to concentrate around taxes and building your team and what to not worry about and how to stay focused here and there and everywhere. She's been a very, very instrumental piece of my wife and I's financial well-being. I've always said you need a really good banker, you need a really good financial planner, you need a really good accountant, and you need a really good attorney, and then find that doctor that tells you how to get your stuff in line too. You get those 5 people, those team members around you in life, and you're going to be surrounded with some pretty good outcomes if you follow along with the directions they give you. This stuff isn't difficult to line up what you need to do to get to your financial freedom, but it ain't easy. And the reason it's not easy is because we're humans. So check out Jane's episode. That'll get loaded up later this week to the member site. Remember, you can join and get early access. That's at www.drleadershipresults.com, or send us an email. We'd be happy to give you feedback on any problems you're facing. If you've got ideas around shows and content and things like that, please send it in. That's at drleadershipresults@gmail.com. Check out the membership site, $5 a month. Come on, folks. Invest in yourselves. I'm not getting rich on this thing. Promise you. Got to keep my day job. Just checked my lottery tickets, and it didn't come through either. I really need to give the cashier over at the Fast and Fresh a piece of my mind, because she did not come through like she said she was on those lottery tickets. So we're heading on down the financial well-being road. We talked about Charlie Munger last week, and he set up the magic number. And it's really all about getting your first, he said 100,000, now it's 200,000, as quick as possible. This week we're going to touch on, and this was actually from some input from my wife after listening to the episode. She said, it's all about instant gratification that these people are fighting. And I go, you're on to something there. This week's episode I'm calling Building Your Financial Future Requires Delayed Gratification. Like I said, last week we touched on Charlie Munger's magic number. Basically, just for a reminder, this is your biggest first financial milestone that is critical for long-term financial freedom. Charlie used the number. This conversation that episode came from was an interview I rewatched from 1996, I think. 96, 97, late 90s, let's say. And he used the number $100,000. But today, for inflation, we'll say $200,000. That's a big number, but one that will come to you if you concentrate on one big mindset change. What is it? Delayed gratification versus instant gratification. Don't be so damn focused on now. Don't be so damn focused on keeping up with the Joneses, etc. Let's face it, Today, with our hyper-connected world, one click, buy this, buy that, ads coming in your face all the time, they're clicking all that psyche stuff up in your brain and manipulating you like mice in a maze. One-click buys, information always at your fingertips. It is easy to get very accustomed to instant gratification. But let me state this loudly for the people in the back of the room here. Instant gratification is not, I repeat, instant gratification is not in your best interest for long-term growth and financial freedom. Controlling that right now impulse is a very, very, very important life skill. And if you don't have it, you better get it. When it comes to timely chasing and attaining big goals in life, time is needed for achievement. But the rewards are so much bigger if you do it right. If you miss this, there's no winding back the clock. And my wife has always said, it's someone else's statement, but she says it all the time. You can either handle hard now or handle hard later. It can either be hard now when you're young and vivacious and can handle it better, or it can be hard in those later years when you're worn out and tired and you want to hang it up or slow down or travel or whatever. To be able to attain those visions of what life should be like in the future, you got to take the appropriate steps now. Let's face it, humans are envious, jealous people, and we constantly are feeding this beast of desire to somehow, just any way, be perceived by others as successful. To be perceived as successful. But the fact is, no one is really paying attention to you anyways. I used to say this to my kids all the time. Well, I don't want to do that. So-and-so will think this. They'll think that. They'll think this. No, man. Everybody under the age of 30, and I know that's a big lumping everybody together, they're only concentrating on themselves. How do I look? Looking in the mirror. Fake this, fake that. Insta-scam, fake book. Influencers. Bleh, I throw up in my mouth every time I say it. These people are... These are losers, man. I'm sorry. They may have a lot of money in the bank, but they have sold their soul. I'm sorry, man. Just don't have any appetite to even try to be kind to those people. So sure, we can point and click and buy that new purse or shoes or set of golf clubs. But as soon as that new smell is gone, the dopamine hit is long since over and gone. And the people you might have been trying to show how awesome you are still don't like you, or still, on the golf clubs, make the putt on the 18th hole to beat you on the course. You gained nothing from that instant gratification. Short-term dopamine hit, boom, God, look at me, I've got a new driver. Whack, out of bounds. The reason is, you won't beat Jimmy on the golf course at the club until you spend more time on the range, until you spend more time practicing, until you spend more time working on the gratification that can come with practice and determination and concentration. You don't get to drop $1,000 at Golf Galaxy and suddenly you hit it like Scotty. Hey, Scotty, you look good in cuffs, buddy. How'd you like to be that police officer? I just arrested the number one golfer in the world in a rainstorm. Bad situation for everybody, but wow, I'm not having that bad a day. So let's face facts here, right? We can't expect to get these things we want, those things that we want and really need instantly. Instant gratification, as Tony Robbins says this, is actually the underlying source of frustrations, since it creates these false expectations that everything's easy. Let me give you a big hint here, folks. Anything good in life is not point and click and it shows up from Amazon Prime the next day, now even the same day. They're using drones to get it there faster. Let's drop this package off faster so they buy something else they don't need. In today's world, young people and even some old ones are set up with the inability to put their head down and be dedicated to long-term achievements. We've created this monster. We as elders and olders, and I'm learning a lot along the way too. I don't have this all figured out like I always say. I'm passionate, but I'm not perfect. The most important of these long-term achievements and goals that require dedication are your financial goals. Everyone can say, I want to be financially independent, but very few act in a way to ensure achievement. Lots of people are raring to go about being financially successful, but not many people can go for the raring it takes to become financially independent. It takes decades. You don't get to Google it. By the way, go to DuckDuckGo, not Google, and then you'll get all of the news around each topic. Just a little shout out to some of the people not trying to hide the truth. This is not an easy thing to change for any of us. You know, Forbes magazine had a good article. What they say is this is an innate characteristic of humans. And it goes all the way back to our focus on survival. I mean, it is deep down in the very core of our makeup in our brains. Think of food, drink, sleep, social interaction, even sex. All give us a pleasure and that instant gratification. We are seeking pleasure over pain. That is how we're designed. Now, in this world, I'm not saying that it's got to be painful for the changes you need to make, but it does need to be delayed gratification. It does need to be that you can make yourself thrive off of accomplishing steps, not garnering things, not getting the package on the porch every day, not going out to dinner every night or 3 nights a week. You have to concentrate on this. Dr. Freud referred to this instant gratification because you're looking for pleasure, not pain. He called it the pleasure principle. Today, instant gratification has direct connections to listen to these. If you strive for instant gratification, it will directly impact to have lower achievement, higher debt, obesity, risky sexual and physical relationships, and probably substance abuse. See, that instant gratification, you're trying to just pump dopamine into your system because I've got to get the next fix, instead of concentrating on how do I get comfortable with where I am without all of this other stuff that I think is going to make me happy. People that pursue freedom for happiness versus pursue things for happiness are going to be a lot happier. Create a commitment device. And what I mean by this is show yourself that you're committed. Cut up the credit cards. Ask someone to help you on these endeavors so you have someone else that you don't want to let down. If you lose your focus, it's always good. That's why things like AA work, Alcoholics Anonymous. Again, it's the substance abuse piece I was talking about above. People are looking for something to push down their unhappiness. Instead of going for goals, they're looking for the quick hit. The reason AA works is you've got a sponsor, and you show up 4 days a week for meetings where everybody says, yeah, today sucked for me too, but we can do it. So find ways to come up with a commitment device that allows you to show yourself you're committed. Make financial steps visible. So that's just something simple. Every year when you get your raise, you get a merit increase, or maybe it's every other year. I don't want to assume everybody gets a raise, but every time you do get a raise, take half of the amount and up what you're putting away for your long-term future and use the other half for spicing up the social life a little bit, to go out to dinner. Here's another thing. When you go out to dinner, especially if someone else is picking up the tab, don't you dare grab the bone-in ribeye. You need to be looking at the pasta dishes, the fish dishes. Be respectful of others that are nice enough to take you out for a meal, first of all. And if it's on your own dime, you ain't got the money for the filet of beef. You got money for the filet of fish at this time in your life. Trust the growing savings will give you more sense of accomplishment than the new shoes or the new handbag. Overpaying for something due to a label on it is to raise your self-worth, is something you need to get over in a hurry. I will tell you this. In my business, my day job, I see what a lot of things really cost because we print and distribute for a lot of major retailers. I'll give you an example. I was working with an importer and exporter out of Chicago. This was 15, 20 years ago. No, this is longer than that. It was 20 years ago. And he had the catalog of what he sold, the incoming pottery and vases and frames and everything, to Pier 1. Now, you go into Pier 1 and you see a vase, and it's $129 on sale today, 20% off. It is $104.99. And you think, God, it's 20% off. I need this thing. That would look really, really good in my kitchen. In the catalog of what he's selling it to Pier 1, 89 cents a pop. True story. Tell you something about clothing. You want to go get the Christian Dior suit, or you want to go get the Nordstrom suit name, or the Oscar de la Renta suit name? We had people in my business that was a family business we bought. They also were a suit importer, fine clothier importer. A high-end suit, jacket, matching slacks, about $45 into the U.S. And that was 20 years ago. Maybe it's $75 today. You think you're getting a deal at $3.99 plus fitting. This stuff is not worth it. Go to JCPenney and buy the same suit for $149. It's a suit. Don't worry about the label. The label's on the inside of the jacket. Nobody sees it. You look around and you see 18-year-old kids that don't know how to add, but they got a pair of Air Jordans on. They're never going to need to add because there ain't going to be any money in the pocket to add up. You can't do this to yourself. You need to get over this stuff. And if you are using a credit card to keep up with the Joneses or to avoid fear of missing out, FOMO, I got to be seen out socially, you really have some big changes to get on right away. Millionaires don't concentrate on being perceived as wealthy or hip. They concentrate on investing and saving and knowing in their own mind they're on the right path. And knowing in their own mind they've got a Champion sweatshirt on and a pair of Hanes sweats, but they got 7 figures in the bank. You got a pair of friggin' Nikes on and you ain't got shit in the bank. Who's better off? Who's better off? If you're the Nike person, and I love Nike. My wife is a Nike fanatic. But guess what? We've got the money to be able to do Nike. We didn't buy it all when we could. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. You've got to stay focused here, folks, or it's going to be a long, long, long road. Millionaires don't worry about what you think. They worry about what they know. They couldn't care less about others' uninformed judgments of themselves. Then you have these wealthy people out there, and I know some of them, that then suddenly think they can judge others because they have wealth. Some of these people are third-generation wealth. They didn't create it. My wife and I have created first-generation wealth. That's a proud moment. I'm not riding off anybody's teat. I'm not riding off anybody's trust fund. I'm going to leave that. We're going to leave the legacy. Be that person. Don't count on someone else to get you there. And then if someone else has gotten you there, certainly don't be braggadocious about it and think you're something special. You aren't. You're just the opposite. Fools are typically loud. That's all I'll say that. So what are some of the steps to take this on? What are some of the things to set up long-term achievement and get rid of some of this instant gratification? Now, I do want to be clear here. I'm not saying you don't ever get to go out with friends. What I'm saying is look at it and say instead of twice a week, is once a week better? If once a week isn't the best thing, is every other week okay? There's lots of things to do around the home. Take good care of your property. I've got neighbors won't mow their friggin' yards sometimes. You just look at it and go, you dropped 7 figures on a house and your yard looks like crap. take care of your assets. But let's step through the different decades of life and some of the quick hit things from the financial advice of Dr. Leadership. What you can do in different generational time periods of your life to help you be set up for long-term success. So let's say you're in your 20s. I got 2 kids in my 20s. They've got lots of friends in their 20s. And I'll tell you this, I see some that are doing a lot of the right things, but I see many that have no clue what this is going to be like in the long run. Some are hoping on the knight or maiden in shining armor or fancy dress to come along and set them up for life. Some understand, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to live off a little less. Those people are going to be the ones in the long run that are in a much better position, I promise you. So in your 20s, the first thing to do that I would recommend is track your spending and rein it in, right? First of all, make a damn budget. If you bring home $1,000 a week, I'm just picking an easy math number, you cannot spend any more than 80% of that a week, and that includes rent, utilities, car insurance, maintenance for your car. You got to budget all this. My youngest daughter just had $1,000 worth of car expenses pop up 2 weeks apart. 2 $500 hits. Bam! 2 weeks later. Bam! It happens. Now, she's doing a great job. She's 23 years old, got $20,000, $25,000 already put away. She's going to be a multimillionaire. Then there's others that have to raise their hand and go, okay, I got to put it on a credit card or something. She was able to write the almighty cash for it. Good job. So track your spending, first of all. If you don't know what you don't know, you better figure it out. You better get to knowing, or you're going to be in a bad spot. Second thing I'd say about 20-year-olds, then I said don't spend any more than 80%. The reason is you got to take 15% of your income and put it into your savings early and often. Charlie talks about the power of compounding interest. He talked about his magic number. As soon as you get a couple $100,000 saved away by, say, 35 years old, by the time you're 42, that's $400,000, and you haven't put another penny away. You keep pounding it away. But if you can get $200,000 saved by the time you're 40, it's going to double 3 more times before you're 65. It's actually going to double probably almost 4 times. $200,000 becomes 400, becomes 800, becomes 1.6, becomes 3.2 million at the age of 65 to 67. Do you want to have $3.2 million? Or do you want to have a new set of golf clubs? By the time you're 35 and you got the $200,000 put away, buy some really nice clubs. Don't belong to the club, though, that costs you every single month if you aren't playing enough golf. Just use your heads. The other thing you got to do is make aggressive asset allocation in your 20s. And what I mean by this is you need to go after growth stocks in your 401k. You need to turn to somebody that knows money better than you. If you don't know yet, listen and learn. Pick up a Kiplinger's magazine, pick up a money magazine, read it. You don't have to be a millionaire to read about how do I do my car insurance? What are some good investment ideas? You're just soaking it in. But be aggressive. Go after items and stocks and funds that are more aggressive because you got lots of time. You want to be as aggressive as possible and just keep buying. Don't try to time the market ever. Rid yourself of any debt here. No credit cards after about the age of 24, 25, man. You just, not saying don't have a credit card. I'm saying no credit card debt. $100 pair of shoes, if you buy it on credit card and you only make the minimum payments, that set of shoes costs you about $400. Because interest rates are 22, 23, 24, 25% right now. It's insane. And then the other thing you have to do in your 20s, and these aren't in any particular order, I'd actually get rid of the credit card. I'd build a 3 to 6 month, that's the last one, build 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund, right? I lose my job, I got to be able to pay rent, got to be able to pay my car payment, got to be able to pay car insurance, got to be able to fill up with gas so I can go interview, get my next job. And then rid yourself of debt before you start saving as much as you can. You got to jump in on the 401ks right away with your employers because they give you a match. It's free money. Jane's going to talk about that with Sharf Para on the interview. Again, go out to drleadershipresults.com, www.drleadershipresults.com, and check out the membership and listen to her right away. This is somebody that sees lots of people with lots of money and lots of people with money problems. See, I'd listen to her. She knows what in the hell's going on. Now let's say you've done some things right in your 20s and you're clipping along. I promise you this. Each milestone that you hit, hey, I got $10,000 saved. Hey, I got $20,000 saved. By the time you're 27, 28, hey, I got $35,000, $40,000 put away here. Then all of a sudden, at 30, I got $80,000. That's a really good feeling. I've been there. I've also lost it and built it all again. I had a bankruptcy hit a company I started in 2008 with the collapse of the market, 2010 actually. Started the construction company in 2006. I had to spin the whole thing apart, went through a divorce, started all over again, build it all up again. You know how? Dedication, not worrying about what in the hell logo was on my shoes. Went away from the Corvette to a Chevy Traverse. See, as soon as you understand that you aren't impressing anybody with the label or with what you're driving, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. So now we've gravitated into our 30s, right? So open an individual retirement account, an IRA or a Roth, on top of your 401k. So now you're putting more money after you do your 401k. You make sure you, at minimum, get the full match from your employer. Keep putting it away. Then you take after-tax dollars and start a Roth, because that's going to be non-taxed at retirement age. Pay double debt payments if possible. If you've still got some lingering debt here, you got a car payment, if you want to pay a little extra on your house every month, all of these things to get the interest off of you. Now, if you don't know, and even if you know but do not understand what an amortization schedule is, look it up, figure it out. Because by understanding how an amortization schedule works on a car loan, a long-term loan, a student loan, a home mortgage, by taking a minimal amount of extra money and putting it towards the principal each month or every quarter or every other week or whatever type of schedule works for your cash flow, will save you thousands on a house, hundreds of thousands of dollars of interest. Make a note. Learn what an amortization schedule functionality is and how to maximize the results by making small impacts on it. Set savings up on automatic contributions in your 30s. That's important, and especially even on this one. You're probably starting to think about or have had young kids. Get a 529 college plan set up, and those college plans can be used for trade schools too. I would highly suggest pushing kids toward the trades, electrician, plumber, carpentry, those types of things. Great jobs, unbelievable flexibility, can start your own business, grow it into millionaire upon millionaire upon millionaire, and you aren't paying ridiculously high prices for these educations right now. What we see going on in our education and our facilities by a few, but it's just ridiculous. These Ivy League schools are a joke. I would not let my kids go to these schools. It's not worth it. That's just for the friggin' elites to get off on each other. Oh, my kid's going to Columbia. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that your kid is so myopic and has no ability to actually talk with others. So open that 529. Now, here in your 30s, you're starting to make a little bit of cabbage. You've got a little bit put away because you did the stuff right in your 20s. And what can happen is you start getting this lifestyle creep. The Joneses become a little more, hey, what are they? They got a new car. Huh. I could probably afford $300 or $400 more a month in a car payment. Maybe I'll go get a car. The car will smell like new for 90 days. Someone's going to door ding it at the grocery store. And now all you got is 60 months of $300 more a month instead of putting it away. And you can pay cash for a car 3 levels higher than that in 20 years. Avoid the lifestyle creep on the plan. And then here, I would suggest in your 30s, get a broker or financial planner involved in your life. Jim Brown, RBC, here in West Des Moines, Iowa. Unbelievable. Has been so impactful on my wife and I's dedication to this plan. Again, you know why? I'm accountable to him for saying I tell him this is what I want to do and this is what I want to accomplish. And he calls me up and goes, hey man, we got to put another amount in here. If you want to stay on track, call me out. Get a financial planner. So now you move in your 40s, right? All you do is you just keep ratcheting up the program. Increase savings contributions by 1% every year. Just do it. It only hurts for a second. And remember, if it's 401k type monies, it's pre-tax. So only 65% of it's missing from the check. Rebalance the portfolio. You've moved up a little bit in your age. Come off of the aggressiveness just a little. 5% off, something like that. Stay that 80% in higher, I don't want to call it risk. There's risk in any investment. But go after the big wins early. And if the market's going down, put more money in it. It's called dollar cost averaging. Look it up. Constantly meet with that financial planner. When I say constantly, I mean once a month, it's a check-in. Jim calls me at least once a month. Hey, I think we've kind of maxed out on this stock or this fund with the winds in the air, and you're in a position where it's not going to create a taxable event, or it's going to be long-term gains versus short-term gains, which minimizes the taxes. Uncle Sam's going to get something of what you got, no matter what, but use that financial planner. Now, you move into your 50s. Here, you get a catch-up from the federal government. You get to, this year, $7,500 more in your 401k. So pump that up. If you're maxed out at your company, you still get to do the catch-ups. So if your company is the max you can do, you're getting the $22,500 or $23,000 this year, the max donation, they give you another $7,500. Again, pre-tax dollars, that $7,500 coming out of your check across 26 pay periods is $350 a pay period, but it only affects you $225 because it's pre-tax, what you would have seen coming home. Review your insurance coverages. You can have too much insurance. Get that in line. Get rid of any last bit of debt. Let the kids and parents know what you can, will, can't, and won't help with. The kids need to go out and build their own wealth. The parents, if they have a challenge, of course you're going to help them. They raised and reared you. They spent hundreds of thousands on you. Help your parents out a little bit if you can. But we let our kids know, hey, we're spending it all. Now, maybe we don't. I'm sure we won't. But all I'm trying to send is the message, go get it. Get it yourself. Evaluate long-term care insurance here. If you have hereditary health issues, get involved in your early 50s. Premiums are lower. And it will certainly help you out in the long run on cash flow if you have to be put into an assisted living expensive place, etc. Now you move into the 60s. Man, have regular financial advisory meetings because you got to figure out when you're going to take Social Security. You got to figure out all of those different things. You need to adjust your investment allocations again, a little less risk again. Now you're close to retirement. Big hit hits the market. You don't have as much time to have it rebound. So you start looking at more things around stalwart stocks that pay a decent dividend that aren't hit by fluctuations in the market. You start looking at bonds. You start looking at federal savings bonds, things, CDs, things that are a little bit less risky as part of your allocation. Work longer or a side gig? Here's an idea here. Do you need to keep going to make sure you have those comfortable 70s and 80s, or do you set up a little side gig? You got to start it if you're going to. Ensure emergency savings fund is large enough to handle full medical deductibles and things. As you get older, unfortunately, things happen. Cancer diagnosis. If you're on a big deductible plan to keep your premiums down, in your 3 to 6 month savings plan, do you have the 10 or 15 grand for the family deductible maximum out of pocket at your ready? Plus, what happens if you lose your job? You got to have rent, you got to have car payment available, et cetera. So you got to look at building that emergency fund up a little bit more, a little more cash on hand. And then you reach your 70s, and here's what I say about the 70s. Party like you're at the Villages. This point in life, you've either done it or not done it. If you haven't done it, sorry, man, go back to work. Welcome to Walmart, or enjoy the ride. And do some of that starting in your 50s and 60s. If you're on this plan, you've got probably over $1 million saved in your 50s. You get in your 60s, multiple $1 million. It doesn't take a lot to do it. Everybody's thinking, well, it won't be me. I only make $50,000 a year. Hey, I said last week or 2 weeks ago, most millionaires, teachers, and cops, these people aren't making $100,000 a year. They save. They don't chase instant gratification. If you follow these simple steps, I didn't write them, I just read them to you. But if you put this as your goal with your significant other, your spouse, your husband, your wife, and you say, do we want to have a fun retirement or do we want to have a famine retirement? It's up to you today. So get after it, get awesome, and keep that shit up. Talk next week.